The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Undisputed Era has arrived.
You have the 25 days of Christmas. Impact's going to have the 25 days of releases.
I send it you to deletion! Yeah!
It's hashtag Alpha versus Omega.
Let's just say hashtag aroused.
No, you're going to step in that ring, and you're going to be looking at me eye to eye, and you're going to realize you ain't got a chance.
Thank God we don't have to talk about it anymore, because she got that cancer out of there.
Sean stole my answer. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about this anymore.
And that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life.
Ooh, salad in fresh. Look what I got. Fresh off the merch table.
Listen, Bailey, I'm about to go perform, so I can't be bothered right now. How about you just get out of here?
What? You can't be bothered? Elias, what do you mean you can't be bothered? When are you going to have time for this? Our match is coming up. Come on, you got to take this seriously. I'm doing all I can to get on the same page with you.
Okay, calm down.
No, you calm down. I don't think you realize how much you need me in this match. I'm a former NXT Women's Champion. I'm a former Raw Women's Champion. You need me. And in the Mixed Match Challenge, I'm going to defeat Rusev and Lana with or without you.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Take off those walking shoes. It's time to sit down and enjoy another great episode of Wrestling to the Max. This is episode 285, part 1. And, of course, I am your host, Gary Vaughan. Along with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Paul Leazar.
Hold on, Gary. I'm taking off my walking shoes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, boy, yeah, sorry. I was trying to think of something different to come in with, and I thought to myself, you know what? We're all walking with Elias, so, it's time to take a break. Man, come on. Every once in a while, you got to sit down. So
I just spent the last minute trying not to laugh too loudly to throw you off.
I know, I do it. So I appreciate it, because, trust me, I would have been way off into Wonderland if you would have thrown me off. Oh, boy. You guys, last week we had a great episode off the heels of Royal Rumble, and now we are with a weekend that it did not really involve wrestling as much as it did football. Yeah, that's right. The Super Bowl was this weekend, and I know we all got to partake and enjoy it. And it was an interesting game, really fun game to watch. Really, Paul. I know you got to go hang out with some friends and watch it. What did you think about the game and everything that surrounded the Super Bowl, man?
I really enjoyed the game. It was a much closer affair than I thought it was going to. I was really expecting New England to blow Philly out, and not so. Nick Foles was incredible. I thought Philly's defense played much better than the Patriots did as well. It's just a really fun game. And, of course, the commercials I thought were much better than they had been in a long time, too. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I agree, because the one thing I'll say is that Jack in the Box commercial made me laugh so hard. Oh, God, I loved it. Sean, you got a chance to watch the game, I know for sure, and definitely why I know this is because I just want to plug this really quick. You and Eric did a great episode of Football to the Max that definitely covered the entire game and, of course, a few things involved. And a great ending to the show, by the way, Sean. That was a wonderful way to end your show.
Yeah. Eric's mom is showing up and asking us some questions is always great. When you find out that somebody's mom has some big football knowledge, it's pretty good. Pretty good way to end your show. So, but yeah, the game was great. It's an instant classic. So, if for some reason you didn't watch it and you are a football fan, I don't know what you were doing, but obviously it's shown us the ratings were like pretty low compared to previous Super Bowls. So, some of y'all that didn't watch it maybe said, "Oh, I'll watch it later," or "I just want to watch the commercials and not watch the game," or whatever. You missed a really great game. So, you got to see Nick Foles make a crazy win for his team, and everybody's sitting there wondering, well, I thought this was about to be about Carson Wentz. Maybe not. Yeah. But, the commercials were pretty good. Peter Dinklage rapping is amazing. So, we need more of that. Imagine him doing that on Game of Thrones. That would be insane. And Morgan Freeman wasn't too bad himself. So.
Definitely. All the way around, I think the entertainment worked out. I think the actual game itself was pretty darn good. So you got, I think, a really nice night of it. A really good, situation for the entire Super Bowl and everything that surrounded it. The halftime show was okay. I can't really say I was really in love with everything that Justin Timberlake. He's not bad. I'm not saying that. I think, I really enjoyed even Lady Gaga and Katy Perry a little bit better. I don't know why. I just felt like they did a little bit better.
The energy didn't seem to come off very well on TV. Apparently live it was great or something, but on TV it came off like he's just going through the motions.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, everything that surrounded the game, I'm glad that we had a chance to to watch it, and everybody out there, I'm sure that if you did watch it, you have your own opinions about it. But, in the end, it was a nice Sunday night, and I hope everybody had a great time. Once again, Football to the Max, go check it out. Also, want to throw out the kickoff. Those guys will be talking about the game. They'll be giving you all their opinions and some of the big things coming out. So go check out those guys. And how do you do that? Well, guess what? How you do that is go check it out, W2Mnet.com. That's right. That's where you go find both those shows, including this one. Please go check the website out and give those guys and gals some love over there, everybody that works on those great shows. And, hey, if you want to go find them simply wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe at the W2M Network. W2M Network. Don't forget it. Go subscribe, rate, and review. Also, hey, for us, if you want to, just find us Wrestling to the Max. Whatever one you choose, just go do that now. When you rate and review and subscribe, all three of those things give us a heads up, help us, and, of course, helps you as well. Want to give some big love to 411mania.com and lastworldprowrestling.com. They are our partners in crime. We appreciate everything they do for us, and we'd like to support them as well. So please go do that. But yeah, that's the plugs that I have for you guys. One thing before we jump into some wrestling, I got some news I need to tell you guys, and I love to save news from my personal life just on the air. I don't even do this in private, guys. Waiting all day to tell you this information, and so here we are. Here we sit. And I relayed the message to you guys that I'll be having a kid in the future, right, on the podcast. Are you guys curious at all what sex it's going to be?
Yeah.
Okay. Simply put, it's going to be a boy.
Hey,
oh.
Congrats, man. You got
Lucky
both.
you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
that's amazing.
I don't want to stop there because I actually got two boys out of this whole equation.
Oh, you got
what?
Wow. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got my own tag team. Oh boy, it's going to be crazy. The Bashams are reborn. I think it's going to be amazing.
Who's got twins in the family? You or Amanda?
I'm the one to blame.
Oh,
yes,
way to go, Gary.
I know. No, I don't know. I'm blaming Kenny Omega on this one. It's all Kenny Omega's fault and Jericho. Those two guys really.
Well, if you don't hear Gary on the podcast for like 2 months or something, you know what happened. Now there are two kids to take care of. Gary's got to have one, and Amanda's got to have the other one. So
there may just be lots of chiming in on the show every once in a while with a wah, or No, that's not me complaining about Impact. That's the kid. Just saying.
Well, the kid is complaining about Impact, going, "Why the hell are you watching this, Dad?"
I know. So trust me, guys. I just found out today. You don't know my reaction when I'm sitting there at the sonogram and finding out, hey, that's more than one. So yeah, I'm still a little shaky.
What did the rest of the family think?
They were ecstatic, and my sister laughed at me.
Oh, that's what siblings are for, to laugh at you.
Exactly. And then I had a few people that didn't believe it. They thought we were pulling their leg. Oh, you guys are kidding. Really? Yes. So I love it. I'm going to tell you this real quick. I know we got to talk news. I'm sorry. I got to say this. James Fonte is a really big, friend of ours. All the three of us, know Fonte. We love him to death. He listens to the show, and he's become really close with us. And I had to tell him. We were having a little conversation back and forth today, and I had to break the news to him. I said, don't tell Sean or Paul, but I got to tell you this. And I didn't tell him. All I said is, hey, dude, I got a tag team coming in July. And he says, I'm not really judgmental about what people do in their bedroom, but congrats. and not that kind of tag team, Fonte.
That's a total Fonte answer.
So, the way around it, I did let him know. So, he's encouraging me because I only have one name for one of the boys, which is Hunter Thomas, which I've played on for a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't have a name for the second one, so we're going to work on that. But he's really encouraged. Wrestling name. So I thought Hunter and Sean, but I know Sean, you would be thrilled. But I don't know.
I would be honored that my name.
Exactly. But I don't know if my wife will go for it being a DX reference when she Googles Hunter and Sean. So
nothing like kids coming out of the
maybe
womb
she
telling
won't.
you to suck it.
Yeah.
Maybe she won't Google that, Gary. So. You might get lucky there.
There you go. So I really don't know. I mean, it's not really up to me. I really don't have those choices all in my hands. So we shall see what the next name is going to be. But I'll try, guys. I promise I'll try to do something wrestling. If it's not, it'll be something inspired by football or something. So, but anyway, thank you for letting me take up this amount of time. I apologize to all of you out there who don't know me personally and they're like, good God, hurry up. So, just had to share that piece of information. We'll talk more about that later. But yes, let's go ahead and jump into some wrestling news. We got plenty of it. Let's do that now.
It's time for
Well, the sound bit screwed up on me, so let's go ahead and do it.
We get to go in cold. Don't you love that? So I take forever, and then we go in cold. That's okay. But yes, let's go ahead and start this thing out, and let's get into what's going on in the world of wrestling with quick hits. And what's cool is, we've got some information, of course, going forward about what's going to happen with the... I'll just go ahead and jump in since I lost my place on this whole thing. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going to happen on the... Oh, here we go. The latest stuff on NXT's tapings, of course, they've already kind of let that out of the bag a little bit. Of course, spoilers always come out, but we're not going to tell you the spoilers, but we will let you know one thing. The Dusty Rhodes Classic is going to happen, and it is going to be an 8-tag team tournament, which is going to be a lot of fun because here are the names of the matchups that we're going to be having. Authors of Pain are going to take on TM61. We're going to have the Street Profits take on Heavy Machinery. We're going to have Sanity versus Amos and Sabatelli. We'll also have the Forgotten Sons, which, Wesley Blake and, of course, who was it? Steve Cutler here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be taking on someone WTBA until later on. But, I mean, this at least looks good so far, and I'm really excited about it. I think the Dusty Rhodes Classics is something that we all enjoy. So I'm ready for it, Paul.
I think I am too, right? You have the 6 sort of mainstay, I think, tag teams going on right now outside of the current champions, of course, the Undisputed Era. So I'm interested in that TBA. I'm interested in seeing how Wesley Blake teams up with a new person. Just seeing how all this is going to shake out. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the Dusty Classic, or anytime they have a tournament. It kind of stinks that it's smaller, but I think it's also good that they're not trying to shoehorn tag teams that we haven't seen, or just, people that aren't ready at all and end up looking bad in this. They're just using the guys that you would expect. You also get to see more of, say, the, Moss Sabatelli team, or the Street Profits. So I mean, I think that's good for them as well. And interesting you guys have an inkling on the TBA team?
Not at all.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, let's think about it. I mean, War Machine's not going to be out till later, right? I mean,
if they've already shown them, I imagine that they're free to show up, right? That would make it to where they're past the ROH suing them thing. So they could show up, right?
I would think so, especially with the other sort of, I guess, big thing to come out of this set of tapings, too, is that Ricochet makes his debut here. So I would assume that would mean that War Machine also could show up for this.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're making a big deal about having a TBA team, I think, and you made a point of showing them at TakeOver, I think that's who it is then.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I think that, whoever they find, whether it be, Ricochet or whoever, I think it's going to be good because, I mean, I think they're really going to try pump this thing up and really build it. So I don't think that they're going to let us down in that frame. But those are some interesting names, and I think that they may have been surprised us with somebody else. Who knows? So, but the Dusty Classic is just so much fun. It's something that feels special every time they bring it around, and I'm happy with the matchups that we already have written down. Right, this card already looks pretty darn good, so I'm thrilled. I'm ready for it to happen. Let's talk about some other cool things that are happening, and that involves streaming services. Yeah, that's right. We're talking more streaming services. Ring of Honor has theirs. We've kind of talked about this a little bit. Honor Club. Yeah, that's right. It's coming at you. It's ready. They are going to be charging some interesting prices here. $9.99 a month, which we kind of see with WB Network. They're doing that same price range. Or $99.99. You can do that, and it'll get you every single thing that they have except their live pay-per-view. So you'll get all their shows and anything else that they have out there when it comes to their catalog, but you just won't get live pay-per-views. But Paul, I mean, you can spend a little bit more and get them, can't you?
Right. So if you pay the standard fee, like $9.99 a month, or the discounted $99.99 for the whole year, you'll get everything but the live pay-per-views. However, if you pay $119.99, you get the VIP tier, which gets you those live pay-per-views as a part of the stream, and you won't have to pay anything extra. So, honestly, I think it. I mean, if you're gonna do this, obviously they're trying to get you to do that, and you save the most money doing the $119.99 a year thing. So, also if you have ringside membership for the website and all that, that rolls over into Honor Club. So, if your expiration date on that comes up much later in the year, you'll still get rolled over into Honor Club, which I think is a pretty nice deal for those people who have stayed loyal to that program.
This is the same thing that I think a lot of people, and I think this is a great deal and all that, whatever, but I think if you're going to lambast WWN for what they did, this is the same thing. And I think it's a cheap way out. It's just them trying so hard not to do the WWE thing. And I get that. I get that you don't want to be giving everything away for $10 a month. And this is basically the last vestige of it, of like, what can we do to, for God's sakes, not do the WWE thing? Mm-hmm. And I just think this is going to eventually, I don't think this is going to work as well as they want it to. Again, when the premier leader is setting the tone, everybody's going to have to eventually fall in line. And I don't think this is going to, maybe they don't need it. They've done it this long without this, and maybe this is another reason why they feel like they can do this, because perhaps Sinclair feels like, if we get 100 people that subscribe to the 120 a year and then everybody else subscribes to the monthly, that's all we need. And, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like just give everybody the option of just getting the whole dang thing for $15 a month then, or something. I feel like there should be a different option than paying yearly. People don't just have $120 to smack around and go, yeah, let me just give this to this service that I don't know if it's going to last a whole year. There's a reason why you have monthly fees for all these streaming services. I feel like giving someone another option, whether it's $15 a month, whether it's $20 a month. Well, maybe not 20 because, Flow Slam didn't work out that well with that. But 12, 15, something around there to give the pay-per-views to, I don't think it's a bad option. I think a year is a lot to commit to.
I will say this first off about the point between this being sort of similar to Flow Slam. I think you were taking a chance on Flow Slam, right? It's a new startup thing. They bring in all these things. And they're asking a lot for a lot of people who don't really know maybe what Evolve is or what all of the promotions under the WWN banner were or beyond or, probably House of Hardcore brought you there just because of Tommy Dreamer. But there's a lot of question marks there. I think Ring of Honor obviously has a much more stable fan base. They have, I think, a lot of other things going for them in this besides... the big question mark that Flow Slam had. So I think this will work. As far as yearly things go, you have people paying Amazon $100 a year for essentially free shipping and access to a whole bunch of other stuff. And sure, you get more than just the 2-day shipping from them, but I don't know. I don't think I really mind the yearly thing. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. It's not like they're saying you can't get the pay-per-views. They do give you a discount still, which I think is more than what Flow Slam ever did. For stuff you maybe had to pay extra for, even though I don't think you did now that I think about it. But, I don't know, especially Ring of Honor's had a long-standing relationship with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. If they can get those guys on the streaming bandwagon and maybe stream their stuff on here, I think that might also make this a little bit more worthwhile.
Yeah, I think you have a point there. And, I look at this and say to myself, really it just depends on how much you really are invested in Ring of Honors, how much you're going to pay, right? And that's the bottom line with all this. And I think, it also makes it interesting that, they do have that deal with Fight TV. And you have the Fight app that has that, I said Fight TV. The Fight app, I know for sure, it has, Ring of Honor every week, whatever episode for free. So if people want to buy this, I really feel like they're going to spend the extra money so they'll get the pay-per-views too, because otherwise, you could still watch just regular episodes of Ring of Honor for free and really don't have to do anything else unless you just like the product so much you want all the extra content, which makes all the sense. It's a bad thing. I just really do, at this point, wonder how it's going to work out if they're really depending on all this money to keep things going, right? So I don't think they're going at this wrong per se, but I'm just honestly curious how many people really are going to get into it. So, but not bad.
I was going to say they do have people paying yearly for their ringside membership too. You're only asking for an extra $20, and now you're tossing in pay-per-views and back content. I don't know if this is a slam dunk, but if you got people paying yearly for your ringside membership, then I think this is pretty easy to get those guys to transfer over to do that.
Yeah, and personally, I do love Ring of Honor. I like watching it every week, and I often think to myself, I need to get invested in it and really start getting some more of those pay-per-views, and I would do it myself. So, but with the Twins thing, I'm like, maybe I should wait. So, but yeah, no, I think it's great, and let's see what happens with them. They're not the only one. All Japan Pro involved in this, and March 7th they're going to go ahead and launch theirs. It's going to be 900 yen or $8.50 over here in American money. Sean, they're even getting into this game too.
I think we should probably also say that even though this doesn't have anything to do with it, this was another one of those promotions that was big to look at on the Real Hero Archive, which is seemingly sort of now dwindling with Google having found them and continually copyright striking them, which only a matter of time. Google is just seemingly finding everything at this point and copyright striking everything. I get emails every day about podcasts that are getting copyright strikes that are like 2 years old. So Google does not joke around anymore about wanting to slam you with anything. So that being said, All Japan now becomes the third or fourth, fifth Japanese company that has their own streaming service now. I think that's really cool. You know, a few years ago when New Japan started theirs, it was like one of those pie in the sky things of like, wow, imagine if every single one of the Japanese promotions has one of these. And it seems like we're getting closer and closer to that being reality. The problem is, and that's what was great about the archive, is that, man, when you sit here and start, you know, adding ROH to this, if you look at all these streaming services, and just for wrestling now, it's getting crazy up there if you want to watch all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, then throw in your Netflix, your Hulu, your Crunchyroll, your other stuff, you know, that you want to put in there if you watch other things besides wrestling, not to mention the sports packages and all that stuff. I mean, good Lord, this is starting to get into that territory of, man, you better start having some big money that you're making to afford all this stuff. Plus, you know, the time to watch all these things too. So, but this is really cool for All Japan. I think it's showing that they are making a push into being known more globally than outside of Japan. They have a great roster. They have you know, some awesome talent that people need to go check out, and I think this is cool. I thought it was cool when DDT did it, and I'd love to see all the Japanese promotions have these. Again, it's just like, man, if you like a lot of these promotions, you're now having to pick and choose which ones you want to sit there and watch all the time.
Yes, I mean, All Japan, so there's New Japan has one, Big Japan has one, DDT, Stardom, Pro Wrestling Wave. I feel like I'm missing one too. But now All Japan's in there. This is what we talk about pretty often on here too with all the streaming services, and there really needs to be a catch-all for some of these, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen, as much as I keep harping on. However, I agree, All Japan fills a very old hole for a lot of people that are maybe disenfranchised with the direction New Japan is going and how much it's trying to appeal to the West. All Japan is still very traditional to its roots, despite having to find new talent and new guys to fill out the top of the card. All Japan's been incredible the last couple of years, so if you want to take a peek and maybe see something that's a little less westernized, All Japan is definitely a direction I would point you.
So who's left? Just Noah, and then you got all the major ones?
Noah, I think, is the last big one. I don't think Dragon Gate hasn't gotten one yet either, so that's...
Oh, man, if Dragon Gate gets one, I might have to shell out the money for that, especially if they do English subtitles or something.
A lot of people in the West would probably... Well, Dragon Gate's had a big international presence for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, they would be smart to get that going in the near future. Follow the pattern, people. It's going to make some money if you bring it to them. So, yeah, I'm surprised they haven't already, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it's... All right, well, you know, the streaming services are looking good, but let's move on to the WWE Network, who's another streaming service, and they have something that possibly could be happening this summer, and at the end of August, to be exact. That is a Latin American tournament. Yeah, that's right. They are really considering doing this. We've kind of talked about this in the past. It could be possible, but they're really kind of looking into this, and it's something that they want to hold in Chile. And I think it's going to be really fun because they've got so many different, countries that they want to get some wrestlers from. I mean, we're talking, think about this, guys. We could be looking at Chile wrestlers, Peru, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, and a lot of these other Latino countries to be represented. And I think that's exciting because, those countries have some great talent, and for them to bring it to the forefront, that could be really cool. The one thing we're not promised is that anyone's getting an NXT contract out of this, but hey, just for them to do it, I think it'd be really neat.
This is a little bit of a head scratcher for me. Obviously, we heard tons of rumors that they were going to start holding tournaments all around the world and maybe setting up championships for them. If you're not even going to guarantee a contract or anything like that, then sort of what's the point, right? Just free exposure for people and that's it? I'm not seeing the point, because obviously the UK division had its point and all that, and we haven't seen a lot of growth on that side of things, but at least saying you're going to do an NXT contract out of this, I don't think would be like the worst thing, right?
No, I don't think so. An NXT contract, I think, would perhaps maybe get some of the bigger names to go in immediately. But I think we also have to remember that necessarily doesn't really matter. It's almost like the tough enough getting you a contract. It doesn't mean that you'll stick around. You could win the tournament, quote unquote, or you could be the star of that thing, and then all of a sudden, months down the line, you're not thought of in the same way. So, and perhaps one of the other guys that they just happen to sign because they liked you, right, then winds up being the star. So it's all about really what you do in the tournament and how that's perceived with the management, and also, how the fans take to you as well. So I think that WWE name being there bright and everything is what's important still. And if, WWE comes calling, the only thing, again, with WWE is outside of Rey Mysterio, and we saw it with his comeback being two of the biggest YouTube hitters for the entire Royal Rumble, outside of him, Mexican stars or Latino stars are not just, jumping out the seams in WWE here. For every Almas that took for how long for him to finally find his footing, you get, many more Kalistos and Grand Metaliques. And that's the problem is, first of all, you may not want to come in with a mask because that you're probably not going to endear yourself to the audience. That already has a bad, I think, just a bad cachet with WWE's audience, period. Especially also because Rey just came back, and I think they see anybody with a mask on, you're trying to be Rey Mysterio and you're not him. So I think you're going to have to come in like an Andrade Almas or, Alberto El Patron to a lesser or more extent, and just have something that really makes you stand out. That's not. I think it just can't be the doing big moves or whatever. I think you have to have a lot of what WWE looks for in a wrestler, and sometimes that's hard also with the language barrier and everything. You might want to come in knowing a lot more English than just trying to learn that when you get over here or something like that. But as a Latino person, I think this is great. I love the fact that people from, my descendants and all that stuff are getting their shot finally to perhaps stand on the same level as the UK guys and everybody else. But I just fear that it may not have the same factor as the women's tournament or the Cruiserweight Classic or anything like that, because again, like even Lucha to a certain extent, it's still like, I think at times even a smaller niche than the Japanese market, especially when you look at it on Twitter or whatever. It's a very small group of people that are covering it compared to the Japanese scene and everything, and I think that trickles down to people that watch it too.
Yeah.
I think the location is something to keep is interesting in this too. In Chile, it could just be them trying to grow wrestling in South America too.
Didn't they sell out really big when they went to Chile last time?
They did.
So I think that's probably why. Is perhaps that's one of the I think Mexico is Mexico, but like being able to go to a South American country like that and have a big presence, I think is a big deal, and also because it's a different market, right? You're not going to Mexico and trying to invade a AAA and CMLL and take that spot or whatever, or take some of those guys. It's a lot more open for you in Chile,
right?
Yeah, and I think, you guys kind of hit it on the head. I think this really is about exposure. It's about getting something else for the network and really kind of just, having something new. And I think that's fine. It's good, but I hope in the long term it does mean that we can get some new talent and maybe give some previews to that, but who knows? I think it's a good thing, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. But you're right, guys. I mean, really, WWE's not really favoritism towards, let's be honest, a lot of the Latino stars. Think of the Colognes. I mean, they just kind of get left in the cold sometimes, and really most of the time. So, well, let's jump into something else I found big news topic over the internet over this past couple of days here. We all know Booker T is no longer on the Raw commentary. Well, he is blaming that on not the coach. He's actually blaming it on Corey Graves. Yeah, that's right. Not even the guy that replaced him. He says that Corey Graves replaced him. And he's actually going out and saying things like he almost attacked Corey Graves, but people kind of held him back from doing that. And he also has said that they put him on the pre-show panel for Raw and for big pay-per-views for the fact that they're just going to let him cool down a little bit and get things back in order. But he is not happy at all. And he says if he sees Corey Graves on the street, he's going to do something. So this guy's pretty pissed off, and it's kind of a scary thing. Booker T doesn't seem to play. He's even said he could beat him down. Sean, I mean, what do you think about all this? Booker T's ticked.
This is weird to me. Like, hold on. How long have you been working with Corey Graves, and now you're ticked? All of a sudden, okay. I think. Are you trying to say that Corey Graves used his inside information to try to get Coach back or something? I mean, I don't. There's got to be something going on. Maybe he said something about Booker T that we're not privy to here, and Booker T's just kind of like, oh, you have something to do with why I'm not on the commentary. I mean, this is not the first time Booker T's been taken off the commentary team. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just think this is. There's probably validity to this or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like this is also people searching for something to talk about, and it's like it doesn't really matter whether Booker T's mad or not. Corey Graves is who he is. He's not going anywhere. Coach has got that cachet from being there before and being a much more, let's be honest, you can understand what he says better, and like just. He's got that favor with Vince, and Booker T was on the pre-shows before all the stuff happened with David Otunga and some other things. They took King off commentary, so Booker T, you could say, has that spot because of other reasons. It wasn't because they just loved him being there.
I mean, all this stuff that we're talking about Corey and stuff is all straight from Booker T's mouth. Like, he has said all this. I believe on a podcast, if I remember correctly. So, he's obviously upset for whatever reason, whether he, Corey Graves constantly berating him on commentary maybe got to him, or whatever reason, he's all hacked off. And now that it's cost him some money, he's even madder. So, I don't really know. I mean, obviously, if he's taking money out of your pocket, then maybe that's a valid reason to be upset too. But, I mean, you're older, man. Like, you're getting replaced by people who have a lot more experience at this job, and I like Booker on commentary, but I agree he's not. I don't think I would call him good. Maybe train wreck good, but
yeah, and I think it was nice to see the coach come in just because, like Sean said, I mean, he's been there before and he's had a lot of experience on that commentary team, and Booker T is great and all, but I've always felt like he was just kind of a fill-in. Like, he was never really a mainstay, even though maybe he felt that way. So, this whole argument thing between Corey Graves and Booker T, I think it stems from, I don't want to say jealousy, but maybe Booker T kind of looks at Corey Graves as the prima donna, like the guy that comes in and all of a sudden everybody loves, everybody brags on, because they do. If you hear anybody brag on the commentary team, it's not. May bring up a little jealousy, may bring up some other things, and let's be honest, honestly feels like he has the right to be the second man on that instead of, I guess I would say the biggest color guy compared to what Corey Graves, because Corey Graves has become basically the new Jerry the King Lawler, right? So, yeah, I mean, who knows what really is going on backstage? These guys could have some other previous beefs. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out. We're kind of left very limited. All we know is Booker T wants to beat this guy down. Really quickly here, I did want to mention, we talked a little Rey Mysterio when we were talking about that Latin America tournament. Rey Mysterio kind of came out recently and said that he possibly could be more likely to sign with WWE than anyone else. So I think it makes more sense to me, too, for the fact that he is training Dominic up. And, hey, why not have him around some of these other people in WWE? It's got the big performance center over there that I'm sure WWE would allow Dominic to come, get around in. So, I mean, to me, Paul, this makes sense.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason probably is what Sean mentioned is all the hits it got on YouTube and the pop, and I think his condition and how well he worked during that match probably a big reason for it too. Long term, I don't know how much Rey Mysterio really brings or offers other than just that sort of yay, it's Rey Mysterio thing. That's really it. I don't know if there's a lot of matches I really want to see him have with some of the newer crop of guys who have shown up, but Rey still draws, and I think that's probably the important part of this as well.
I think that's the major part of it, is that he draws. He sells merchandise, and he certainly has earned himself, whether you agree with the way that he got to where he did in WWE or not, and we can debate that all day long, and we know why it is. Rey Mysterio has come out and said why, and he is not afraid to tell you the truth about why he got where he did. Regardless of all that, the dude I feel has earned getting a part-time spot if he only shows up here and there, only shows up on TV and doesn't do a lot of house shows or whatever. I think WWE at some point was trying to push him to do more, and I think that's kind of silly at his age. When he was there before, he had to change his style because he couldn't do a lot of the things that he used to do. Do you really want him going out there day in and day out, really hurting himself more? That's part of the reason why he left. I think you got to be careful not to burn these guys out, and you could have him around to not just train Dominic, but to help train other guys in the Performance Center. He could be an NXT trainer. He could help be a liaison for some of these guys that do come in the Latin American tournament. He could be a huge figure of that Latin American tournament. I don't know that I want him on commentary or anything, but just have him be there. Have him be that face, that guy that you see talking about it, that gets to learn about all these wrestlers and whatever. I just think that he could do a lot for them in other ways, not just wrestling, and you got to be careful not to burn him out on the wrestling format to where he'll be like, I don't know if I want to do anything else.
Yeah, I think that's the truth. And, this guy has been such a big part of WWE's history, and just a history in general in wrestling. So I think having this guy part-time, whatever he wants to do, is not a bad thing. Having him with that merchandising money, all that entails, just super guy in the locker room means more, I think, honestly. Good leadership involved as well. So it's good, and I really hope it does happen because I'd love to see Rey Mysterio in some big matchups, even though if it's not all the time, every once in a while is just as good with me. So, but this just in, Kalisto says if he does sign, then he will be a little angry, and that if he will do something if he sees Rey on the street. So, but guess what, guys? Kane is not going to be on. Right now, it looks like he's been taken off all the live tours of WWE for the fact that, at the end of during February, he's going to be running for mayor. He's trying to get that bid and really campaign and trying to get things going so he can be the mayor, I believe, in Knoxville, Tennessee, I think it is. Yep. But he's trying to get that done, and some other people are saying this is because of nagging injuries. My personal opinion, I think it's both. But either way I look at it, I'm happy. I love Kane, but it's nice to see him do something that I think, will help him. And not only that, I wasn't happy with his run at the end here. So it's cool with me.
I kind of hope he wins the mayorship, so that way he might be forced to retire, so we don't have to see him anymore. I think I'm over Kane, guys. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, me too. Sean, I mean, how do you feel about it?
I mean, you know what? I want to see it for him because it seems like something he really wants to do.
Mhm.
Like, I want to see him happy doing this government thing and like, you know, getting to do a different thing than The Rock is doing and getting to represent being a former wrestler in a different way. He's not the first politician or whatever. You know, you got Jesse Ventura, you have others. But I think this guy, he's very serious, and I could see him, you know, going past just being a regional, you know, person in government and perhaps going on to national seat or whatever. I think that's something that you could definitely see him. And I mean, I think saying you could be Senator Kane or I know we've had Senator Kanes before, but it's just, you know, whatever, Senator Jacobs or House Representative Jacobs. I think that's pretty cool to be like, hey, he was in WWE before. I just, you know, I want to see it for him. If it gets him off TV, cool or whatever. But I think that's the positive. I mean, look how many times The Rock comes out in anything now, and it's like people want to see it just because he's on it. I think having Kane in that format of being in government and being an actual good representative, not like Jesse Ventura, where you're kind of like, oh my God, please get out of there by the time he was done. But you know, this dude seems to know what he's doing in that section. So I want to see it for him.
I do too. And if you talk to many of the wrestlers or anyone that's worked around Glenn Jacobs, Kane, they all say that guy is super intelligent, that he knows his stuff, and he just has the ability to really do this job if they allow him to. And the people of Knoxville agree with that sentiment, and let's hope that they do vote him in. Well, not for the fact just to get rid of, you know, the Kane character off the screen right now, but also for him personally. You guys just said all that stuff, so all our best wishes are for Kane. Let's hope that everything works out for him. Someone else we really hope best wishes for is Jason Jordan. And the reason I say that is because right now he honestly is dealing with a neck injury. This is not just something off of Monday Night Raw. We're talking now, this is real. This guy has a severe neck injury. Some people are comparing it to the same neck problem and surgery that could be faced with, you know, Edge, and we also saw with Chris Benoit. So, you know, the situation is not, you know, something that's to be played with. It is very severe. If he does, you know, have surgery, he could be gone for up to a year. Now, he is exploring other options. He's trying to figure out something else that probably will not take him away for an entire year, but boy, I mean, this is serious, Sean. I mean, they seem to think that this guy really has something bad going on with that neck.
Better safe than sorry when it comes to the neck. We've seen this how many times? We saw it with Paige just recently. Get that thing figured out. You got to have surgery. Get that done. Your health is very important. And also, you know, being able to continue doing your career is very important. And if you wait too long, you may get into a situation like Paige where you can't do it anymore, and you don't have even the cachet that Paige does. Like, if he's out and gone or whatever, I mean, I don't know what Jason Jordan's going to be doing in WWE, because he's not going to be appealing to anyone to say, oh, let's keep him around for something.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really hope he does get this taken care of. Neck injuries have ended many a great career, but, I mean, the injuries we're talking about, Edge and Benoit came back and became world champions, so that's not terrible company to be in if we're comparing you know, everything that's going on there. Yeah, just, you know, get this saved. Like, your neck is very important. It connects everything basically to your brain. You know, get it done. Get it done, figure it out, and don't die. That's the more important part here.
Yeah, really. I mean, this is something that really, I mean, you guys said it. It has a lot of serious nature behind it, and you know, we've seen other guys like Daniel Bryan. You know, he was a guy that, you know, tried to go find other options and has toyed around with getting healed through natural medicines and things like that, and has actually had to go to Western medicine a little bit here and there. So he had to make his rounds. I think Jason Jordan's got to do the same thing, figure out what's best for him. But he really needs to consider what the trainers are saying, what his doctors are saying, what everybody around him is. Really, best wishes to Jason Jordan. I hope this thing works out good for him. I'm really happy to hear is that Samoa Joe's got himself in a situation that he could be back around mid-March. So hopefully he is getting himself healthy and ready to get back in things. I mean, Paul, this is a guy we love to watch every Monday night. I really hope this thing works out quick and soon.
Mid-March means back in time for WrestleMania, and that's what I'm pumped about. Whatever they're going to try to figure out to do for Joe this year, I mean, this guy keeps getting pushed no matter how much he keeps getting hurt right now. So, you know, the work rate's there. I think all the support's there. You just got to get the machine behind him and figure out what you want to do. I can't wait. I love Joe. He was wonderful. And just all the build-up from SummerSlam to now. So just let's get this guy back on the path.
Yeah. Sean, I mean, this is something that, you know, we've had to kind of watch out for. So I know all of us are going to be ready for Samoa Joe. Hopefully despite the fact that he's coming back in kind of a shorter time span, you know. So.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having to respond to official PR emails at freaking 2:30 in the morning because, you know, we seriously deal with people from all kinds of different countries. But, you know, it's Samoa Joe, when he went down, I think that was one of the, like, really kind of sad, like, injuries, because you're going, man, we're thinking, oh, he's going to have a big spot in the Royal Rumble. He's going to have this big match with John Cena. You know, they're really building to this. This is a match I think a lot of people wanted to see. And then he goes down, and they have to make changes. And now you're just wanting him to come back and be back to that Samoa Joe we know he can be. I think he'll be okay. That dude is too great not to be. Just want to get him back in the flow of things and get him an important match at Mania. I think that's the important thing for that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Mania is going to be a big deal, so that's exactly why we want Joe to have a big match. And someone else that's going to have a big match is Ronda Rousey, and that's just for the fact of, you know, it's the name, right? And no matter how ready she is or whatever, she will be a part of WrestleMania. She will be in the ring, in action. But, you know, there are talks about Ronda Rousey either doing something like, you know, big in the WrestleMania, but not only that, doing something else that's really spectacular, and that's break Asuka's undefeated streak. That's right. They have been debating and really considering having Ronda Rousey be the one to defeat Asuka for the first time. Paul, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that.
You know, they want Ronda to be a big deal. This is how you go about doing it. I don't know if I fancy an outside worker coming in and breaking it this quickly. But I mean, short of moving her to another show, who else do they really have lined up right now that you think could do this? You know, could bring the streak to an end. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, this is someone who, you know, of course, has a lot of celebrity, but you're right. It's from the outside. This company, she's not been around having tons of matches, and really, I kind of hate saying this, but she really hasn't earned her stripes yet. It's almost like, hey, you know, you just jumped off the street and you can beat our top women's performer because she's undefeated, she's done everything, and now you can just come in and take her out. So yeah, it's the part of me that doesn't like it. But then again, I mean, if it's one that has done stuff in another version of, you know, action sports, which is mixed martial arts, so but I definitely could see WWE doing this. I mean, Sean, I don't know if you agree. What do you think about this whole thing?
Hold on 1 second here. I'm trying to, you know, this is that thing that, you know, people feared with Ronda Rousey coming in, right? That they would start giving her a lot really quickly, and this is that huge thing that even I think just as big as one of the titles is getting to break Asuka's streak. You could say that it's right up there. Like, there's a 3 sort of championship ring going around the women's division right now, and Asuka's streak has lasted so long. WWE has done a great job of booking her since she's come to the roster, or the main roster, and it's like, I hope to God, if you're going to do this, that Ronda Rousey gets to prove herself that she is worthy of it, and not just, we're doing this to sell tickets, or we're doing this to get a big shock factor. You don't need that with Ronda Rousey. This is freaking Ronda Rousey. Do you really need her to break that? To have her shock everything? Again, as long as she shows that she's good or competent and has a good match with Asuka, then I guess that's fine. If you're telling the story about her having to overcome and having to learn how it is to be in a different environment, and you're not in MMA, you're in wrestling now, I guess this is sort of like almost like the new everybody wanted a new person to break the Undertaker streak, right? Mm-hmm. So this is sort of that same thing. Like, wouldn't this set her up onto being thought of in a different light if you're breaking Asuka's streak, especially if she proves, oh man, she's pretty good right out of the gate.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing, I think, between all of it is that if we're going to talk Taker streak, it definitely, by the time he was getting so old, it was believable that he could fall to some young gun, right? Asuka, I think, still in the prime of her career. Ronda, I think the only way you could pull this off is, one, I think Ronda has to have a certain talent for this. She has to be, as you were saying, Sean, she has to be good at this. 2, you equally have to build her up in the same vein that you did Asuka, right? She has to not lose, and you have to sort of kind of try to put them on that same echelon. And, I think for wanting Ronda to be a big hit, just because she's a big hit in MMA, I don't think means she's going to be instantly a huge star, but she is going to attract different audiences. And I think the best way you try to get them to stick around is to show, man, look how great Ronda is, right? She's really coming in. Now, she sucks. You're going to have a pretty different story on your hands.
Yeah.
How do you try to save whatever you're going to do with Ronda if she's not good at this?
Yeah.
I feel like with the way wrestling is right now, you can't afford to bring her up if she is not competent. Like, if she's bad, you can't have her be on TV. Wrestling, anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, you can have her be on TV and talk, or, just be a presence or whatever, like Brock, but if you're going to have her do something more than just, like, put somebody in the armbar, I don't think they can afford to have her first impression be, well, I could barely have a match with Alicia Fox.
Yeah, that's very true.
What if she, because it sounds like we're sort of speculating, like, if she goes bad, we're talking Eva Marie level of situation here where it's just heat.
Yeah, like...
WWE didn't shy away from that. They turned into it.
I just don't... Like, Eva Marie's not an athlete, though. Like, we're talking about a freaking supreme athlete. I don't think they sign her if this secret training that she's been doing for months has not been going well. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I don't know if she's gonna maybe blow everybody away or whatever, but I think she's going to be fine. And we're over worrying here, but again, we're talking about a freaking athlete here. That usually means something when we're talking about the wrestling part. As much as we want to bag on Baron Corbin, he's come miles from where he was in NXT. Even Elias has become competent. It doesn't take much to... Carmella, even. It doesn't take much to be pretty decent in wrestling if you really want to do it, and she seems like she has the I really want to do it part of it down.
I agree with all that. I just, you still got to question it. Like, well, I mean, people could still turn on this even if she is good, too. I think that's probably something else we should take into account as well.
Yeah, I think she's going to get boos because she's Ronda, and people don't like the whole somebody from the outside coming in and, but is that going to be...
that just don't like her in general, too.
Yeah. I think WrestleMania is going to be very... That's going to be huge. If she gets that match and her reaction there, I think it's going to tell you a lot because that's that certain type of fan. And I think that they are not going to let her forget that they don't like her for the rest of that year or whatever. Every time she goes to one of those towns, and that can also rub off when you go to a regular place as well with those people that don't like her just from what she did in her time in MMA, that maybe she becomes a heel, and maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. She doesn't have to be liked, I guess. But,
That's true. I mean,
she
think
could be
really...
Roman, the female Roman, too, That seems to work out well for him.
Yeah, I think you just turned me against Ronda, so...
No, I'm just saying in the fact that WWE will push her against the grain, even though they should,
Yeah. And that's would be the only reason I would feel that way. But I don't know. I mean, it's good to speculate, right? It's good to talk this out and really think about it. I think it's a wait and see thing, and if she's bad, I'm sure we'll get a chance to really tear it apart and really talk about how bad it is. But if she's good, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised, and it really is going to be kind of fun to see who really cares if she's good or bad, or who's going to hate her no matter what. So it's gonna be cool just to kind of see how this whole thing shakes out. Well, before we jump into quick hits, I got to mention this really quickly here. We have Rosemary coming out of this weekend. She had a match against Jessica Havoc at the AAW show, and she injured her knee. So this is kind of scary because a lot of people are saying that it looks like she has a serious injury now. Oh man, that kind of sucks because it seems like Rosemary in there and everywhere, Paul.
I mean, obviously, I would say it still impacts top women's wrestler over there, too. So if she goes down and suddenly you don't have that around, you got to start relying on a lot of other different things around you that you maybe weren't ready to pull the trigger on. So I don't know. This certainly does suck for Rosemary, though. She's very, very talented. Lots of people love her. So, I mean, if this is ACL, MCL stuff, she might not be around for a while, and that could really suck, especially when you're at a pretty high point in your career.
Yeah, that's a huge bummer, and I hate to hear that. And once again, I hope she definitely heals up and gets things right for herself. And you just never know until you get the official report. But as we sit here right now, it's up in the air, but it just does not look good for Rosemary. But yeah, that is quick hits for everybody. Of course, we'll have some more great quick hits on our part 2 on Thursday. But now it is time for us to move on. We are going to jump into some big stuff with Ring of Honor. We'll do that right now.
All right, so Ring of Honor, we're at that fresh set of TV tapings that took place out in Nashville. I don't know if we actually talked about this on Quick Hits, but instead of, it wasn't just the world title that got a facelift, all the titles got facelifts. So we're going to be seeing new championships across this taping, because this is the first one that they're all at. And we open with Best Friends taking on the Motor City Machine Guns. This is fine, right? I think the action is good. It's more sort of what we got at Final Battle. I love that the Best Friends get the Rainmaker camera pose treatment every time they hug. I think it's wonderful. I can't help but laugh every time. We get a Chris Jericho cruise commercial during this, Gary. Like, I was losing my mind.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't actually know that they had made a Jericho cruise commercial. But hey, I'm happy to see it, and hey, they should do it because Ring of Honor's involved in it, and it's a good selling point for Ring of Honor and for Jericho. So good stuff, if you ask me. And this match, I mean, to me, it worked out fine. I mean, I really don't have a ton of complaints. I think you get what you get, right? I mean, both are good teams. They do their spots. They do what they need to do. But in the end, it's the machine guns taking care of business for the fact that they are able to showcase themselves still, and just because the best friends come in here pretty hot out of Japan doesn't mean that they automatically take over this whole thing. And because, of course, what happens next. But that's the one thing just about the match itself. I'm glad it wasn't about the best friends just outdoing the machine guns. I'm glad it was more of a, hey, we're really both two solid tag teams, and they really showcased very well.
Right, yeah, and just as the match is sort of starting to pick up with everybody doing stuff on the outside, and Chuck Taylor does this big dive onto everybody, we get another best friends hug, and then here come the Briscoes to poop on everybody's parade, attacking everybody, forcing the DQ and no contest, and all that great stuff. The Briscoes end up zip-tying Alex Shelley to the ropes. They beat him up, they beat Chris Sabin up, and then they make Alex Shelley watch Jay hit a Jay Driller on Chris Sabin, and Sabin sells it like he's dying. It's really a quality job, and certainly a great way to sort of ramp up the aggressiveness of the Briscoes, as well as sort of give the machine guns maybe a stronger reason to want to fight them, other than just, hey, the Briscoes are mad guys.
Yeah, and I appreciate all that, and I love the fact that we had the best friends just kind of take off. They didn't even care.
I wouldn't get beat up that way either, man.
Oh, man. I guess not. Yeah, I guess he's like, not my fight. But, I think this is something that's positive for the fact that now the machine guns have a reason to care even more. Right before, they're just like, I get it. These guys are bothering us because we have the titles. Now this is becoming more of, hey, now we're taking it personal.
Right. After that, we cut to the backstage area, where we have the last real men, is what I'm going to start calling them, but Spear City Bruiser, Brian Malonis, and of course Silas Young. Bruiser and Malonis make their tag debut next week, is what this is basically talking about, how they're going to bounce people out of the bar, and Silas can't wait to see him tag up, so he's all excited too. And then we get this video package for Punishment Martinez talking about his life before wrestling, how he sort of grew up in a rougher city on the streets and had to sort of earn his name Punishment from all, the struggles and hardships and fighting and all this other stuff. And then he starts going into his fighting career before this. Apparently he's a former 2-time Muay Thai champion, and Ring of Honor has sort of given him a place to ply his trade and do what he do best, and that's beat the crap out of people. So he runs over everybody who he's beaten and murdered, essentially, and winning survival of the fittest, and how that's all led him to Dalton Castle next week, as they're going to go one-on-one for the world title.
Well, I firstly want to say the last real men, I'm all game for that. I want to see those guys and what they do. Punishment Martinez. I think this is a great package. I really think Ring of Honor did a great job of this. Before they've done some video packages, but it was kind of brief and really didn't give you a whole lot. It's just, hey, this guy's tough. This really showcases him very well, and it makes you really get into what he's all about. And I thought they did a bang up job, and I appreciate it. And as already, but I think this really did him some favors.
I don't know if I'm as over the moon about it as you are. I thought it was good, right? I mean, it definitely gives you some more ties to the character and all that, especially since he kind of got railroaded to a different track after the whole thing with Steve Corino and all that sort of fell apart before him, with being the reincarnation of the Purple Mist and all that. That's sort of gone by the wayside, and now it's more about just him being this sort of weird dude who is super strong and can do all this cool stuff. So, I'm looking forward to the match. I just don't know if this really did a whole lot for me other than give you a backstory, and then, that's fine.
Yeah.
After that, we get this awesome match between Shane Taylor and Marty Scrull. I really really enjoyed this. First off, it's kind of a revenge match since Marty Scrull was the victim of Shane Taylor's beatdown from him getting paid off by SoCal Uncensored when they did their big attack on the Bullet Club a few weeks ago. Eventually, this comes down to Marty going out and grabbing the umbrella. Shane steps on it and takes it from him, and the referee naturally takes it from Shane, which allows Marty to go to the outside and grab some powder, toss it in Shane Taylor's face, and then roll him up for the 3 count. I've seen Shane Taylor live a couple of times, just, not even in Ring of Honor as well as here in VIP Wrestling here in Dallas. And he works the big man, small man match very, very well. And I thought both guys did an excellent job of making sure they both got out of this looking awesome, right? Because Shane didn't really lose anything, I think, by losing this way. And Marty is selling for him like death. So this, I thought, was great work the whole way around.
Yeah, and I always want to sing a little tune after, Marty Scrull wins this way. I always going to go, and that's why he's the villain. Because, really, it's one of those moments that you're like, oh, man, well, Marty escapes because he's a villain, and it's exactly what happens here. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. You're exactly pinpoint on this. These two just put on a great performance. Really happy to see it. They fed off each other very, very well. Shane Taylor looked excellent at times, and, of course, then the next thing you know, it's Marty looking good. So I was really happy with the performance. I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm really happy with it. And, this whole, whatever it is, sand or whatever that is he threw in his face, I think it really helps because, Shane technically lost but didn't lose at the same point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cheap win. So, he doesn't really lose all that much. Post-match here, you have Marty call out Punishment Martinez. Marty says, you know what, Punishment, I think you're going to beat Dalton for the world title next week. And I want to be the first title shot that you give away. And Martinez sort of nods his head in agreement and then chokeslams Marty because, how dare he challenge him or call him out. This is rude.
Yeah, makes me think of Full House. How rude. Stephanie Tanner, thank you for that line. But no, seriously, it just, why would you call it the devil? It's like, hey, I want to get killed. But Marty has things under his sleeve, trust me, and up his sleeve or whatever. He knows what he's doing, and a choke slam may have been this time, but he may be, working those wheels to do something in the future. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but it was a very interesting one.
Yeah, clearly Ring of Honor is just trying to put it in your head that Marty is a possible world title challenger down the road, whether it's Dalton, whether it's Martinez, whether it's Jay Lethal. I think they just want it there. Marty is in that echelon now, and he keeps winning on TV, so people are going to agree eventually.
I definitely agree, and not only that, he should be in that spot. This
right.
He's excellent, so I'm glad he is in that picture.
Me too. We get a recap of Bully Ray's retirement speech from last week, which was great. We get a video package for the Women of Honor tournament that's going to begin next week as Mandy Leon takes on Madison Rayne. Which I'm super excited to see finally get a airtime on the actual Ring of Honor TV episodes and not getting specials or whatever else. We get recap of Coast to Coast beating War Machine last week as well, since they're going to be the guys taking on Malonis and Beer City Bruiser and their tag debut next week. And then we get to the main event, which is Matt Taven taking on Cody. And this was fine. I didn't find it to be anything special. Both guys, you get a lot of back and forth. Eventually, Taven takes advantage by attacking Cody's hand. And, of course, this leads to Kingdom shenanigans like it always does. They eventually get caught. While the referee is dealing with them, Taven goes and grabs his walking stick and goes to use it on Cody. Cody, however, kicks him low, rolls him up, gets the 3 count. And then in the post-match, the Kingdom beat Cody down. And afterwards, Taven steals Cody's precious Ring of Honor. So I'm assuming Taven's going around at live shows now asking people to kiss the ring.
Oh, boy. I'm okay with it because it fits the Kingdom format.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it's kind of the king. So think it works. And I think match, like you said, it had some good moments in it. I wasn't blown away by it. I don't know if I was really supposed to be blown away by it. So, and here, it's kind of neat to see the guy you thought was going to win didn't end up winning, but at the end, he still gets to stand tall. But the way it all works out, it's okay. All right, it's not the strongest, and it does make you really, want to see more of these two guys and basically more of that feud.
Yeah, I mean, this is pushing it forward, giving that feud, I think, its next step as far as the storytelling going. Cody obviously prizes this ring heavily, so Taven stealing it, I think, is going to be a big deal. Certainly something to look forward to as we go down the road here with Ring of Honor. And, of course, they also mentioned a lot about the Kenny and Cody blow-up as well happening over New Japan, and that has been confirmed to be, I am assuming, going to be the main event at Supercard of Honor during WrestleMania weekend. So we're going to get that blow-off there for these guys, too, which I really like how New Japan is using that to work over here for Ring of Honor and helping them out that way as well. So great episode of Ring of Honor this week. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And let's just keep these coming. Every time they give us these kind of episodes, I'm thinking to myself, man, I kind of wish it was already next week so I could watch the next one. So, good job on their part. Well, there you go, guys. That pretty much rounds out our show. We've had a lot of interesting things to talk about when it comes to the world of wrestling and the news coming out of it. And, of course, Ring of Honor. So, there you go. Of course, don't forget to come join us next Friday morning when we do a lot more great talk in the world of wrestling news. And we'll also be talking some Impact Wrestling, crowning a Superstar of the Week. Trust me, a lot of stuff in store for you this Friday morning, so you don't want to miss that show. And you don't want to miss a minute of the action on anything that comes out from our show or any of the other shows at W2Mnet.com. So make sure you go check out the site, subscribe, rate, and review over there at the W2M Network. Of course, if you just like our show, you just want to stick with us, Wrestling to the Max is always there to subscribe to. But I encourage you to go join the W2M Network because there's so many of the great shows that you don't want to miss out on. I already mentioned a couple before. We started this whole thing. I mentioned the kickoff. I mentioned Football to the Max. We also have MMA to the Max if you guys are MMA fans. We also have a lot of other big shows, Video Games to the Max, lots of shows. So please go check out the site. Go find out all the things that we have and pick out your favorites. Also, don't forget to go check out our friends and partners in crime over at 411mania.com and lastwordonprowrestling.com. Both those sites are really great. They have lots of great articles. Trust me. So that, I think is the end of our plugs tonight. Of course, we thank you for joining us again. I'm excited about what's going to be happening up this next week. And until then, guys, we have only one thing left to tell you, and we're going to get Sean back on here to say, you're not living life to the max, guys.
You're not living life at all.
You know it. The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.